Hello, I'm Dr. Butt. You have to be proactive. Nobody is going to knock on your door and say, hey, I have this role for you. One of the rules of acting is don't be a dick. Know your lines, know your mark, and don't be a dick. Well, I'm a real person. Can you cast me? The objective is to be able to act, make a living from it, and just do that forever. It's really cheesy, isn't it? To be like,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to portray. I wasn't a strong enough person to make my own decision, if that makes sense. You do always know who a musical theatre person is. It's very obvious. You're banned from the West End now. My dancing career would be over already. I'd be too old. That's the girl. That's who I need.
Hi, folks. And on today's podcast, I'm joined by Lauren Buck. Lauren is an actor, a voiceover artist, and generally a good all-round person, which were her words when I asked for what she wanted in her introduction. Lauren, you're an actor and a voiceover artist. Tell me about what you're doing currently.
Hi. Yes. So I have just finished a play in a fringe theatre in London called Endeavours of Penge. And we performed that at the Bridge House Theatre in Penge. So it was the first time that that play has been performed in Penge, even though it's set there. It was really lovely to be on stage again and work with an incredible cast and an incredible director. The writer of the play, Annie Siddons, came down as well, which was lovely. She got to see it. And it just felt like, I don't know, every time I do a bit of acting, and as a jobbing actor, that's not always all the time. It just cements in my head and my body, like, this is definitely what I want to do with my life. There are any actor or any creative will know that it's just, it is a career of doubting yourself a lot. So to have the chance to be on stage or to be filmed or whatever your medium is, like, to actually be doing it, it's just lovely. And it makes me feel really almost like, feel like this is where I belong. It's a really cheesy thing, but whenever I walk on a stage, I'm just like, oh, it feels like home. I just would like to do a little bit more of it.
Yeah, it's a very strange feeling. I think it's something that a lot of people probably share, particularly if they do anything creative or they've got their own business. There's that sort of moment where people think to themselves, hang on, what's going on here? People are actually trusting me. Just because I said I'm an actor, or just because I said I'm a podcaster, or just because I said I've got a business that makes widgets, suddenly people are turning around and actually taking an interest in either buying my widgets or listening to my stuff or whatever it may be. And you think, well, hang on, actually, I'm just some idiot who's decided he wants to do this thing, and now I'm being taken seriously. That's crazy. I mean, I've certainly had that with businesses in the past, where I've said, look, hey, this is what we do and this is how we do it, and somebody said, yes, I'll have some of that. And you think, hey, sure, yeah. I've only been doing this 5 minutes, but no, it's great that you are treading the boards, as they say. Is that what they say? I'm sure that's what they say. It is what they say.
It is.
So what was it called? Endeavours of Penge.
Endeavours of Penge.
And what's that about?
It was based on. Oh, you're gonna ask me now. I'm not gonna be able to reply. I know, I'm terrible. It was based on a Greek tragedy,
Right.
and like mythology, which was funny because when I always remember in GCSE, was it GCSE or A level drama? We did Oedipus, and I played like the little old blind man, which was really funny because it's just not my casting, but also obviously like 17 years old.
Yeah.
But it was fun because I got to fight Oedipus with my stick. It was like kind of like a Yoda vibe going on, but yeah, it was really funny. And like it was a really lovely play because it was it was about like, you know, people that are on benefits and population that is just kind of forgotten about, and how, you know, they're screwed over by the system. And one of the characters I played was a lady called Alison, and she is she was described as the poshest woman in AA. And then which made me laugh. And then it was like poshest woman in AA with high anxiety. And I said to the director, "Oh, typecast me." But she was quite fun to play because she was kind of like an completely oblivious to the struggles and woes that these people were going through, but then has solidarity for, I can't say that word, for them, and kind of joins the cause. And it was nice character to play because she was a little bit like yummy mummy kind of yogi kind of person, which isn't really me, but it was fun to kind of take that like characterization with and do that. And the other role I played was like part of a narrator. So the play is narrated. And what we did was we split it up so there was multiple voices. And there was a lot of diversity in the cast, which was beautiful. We all got a chance to do some narration. So some of this narration I did was really quite hard hitting. And it was really poignant and beautifully written. It was like a mixture of narration and poetry, which was really lovely. Yeah, it was just a really nice play to be involved with. And we basically did it on Zoom. Like we rehearsed on Zoom for like a year.
All right.
And we only met in person a week before we put the play on. And it was amazing because I've known these people because I went to Identity School of Acting. I've known these people for years. Like one of the guys that who played Dennis was like my on-screen husband in most scenes, that we always got paired up together. And we'd like done all these lovely, like really intimate scenes together on Zoom, which is a strange thing to do, but never ever met in person. So it was so nice to just be like, hi, you're actually a real person, you're not in this little frame here. And with everybody, we had people from France, from Norway, from Newcastle, like all meeting up in South London, which was just lovely. And just it was really funny because when it was over I always get like post-show blues. And I was just like going home and I was like started to cry, and I was like, why am I crying? And I was like, it's just so nice to be surrounded by people that have a similar passion, and we all got on so well even though we'd not really ever met in person. And yeah, it's a weird thing because I've done another course online with Royal Central, and again we rehearsed and met online, and we were learning online for 6 months, and then we met in person and did like a two-week intensive course in Central at the Central School of Speech and Drama. And it was, again, it's like you know them but you don't, because you do but you haven't actually met them physically, and it's quite a weird thing to. And acting can be so exposing and intimate, and you know, we do these exercises that are, you know, some of it is like therapy, and to do that with people that you don't know is it's like there's a lot of trust there, and it's really lovely that everyone is so accommodating and there's no judgment. And yeah, it's been a really nice year actually to meet all these people in real life and build all these connections. And one particular person from the courses, we were paired up together to do our final project together. So at Central we were basically aiming to write a short and then film it, and we loved our idea so much that we've actually going to develop it into something a little bit more. So hopefully we can like get funding for that, and we just need to like, it's funny because you know, like one side of the industry, which is being in the front of the camera side, but then if you want to create your own work, we then have to work out how we get funding and who do we send it to. And obviously we want to make it to a high standard, so we need funding first, and we need to work all those little things out. But I'm really excited about that, to develop that.
Certainly one good way of making sure that you've got work coming in as an actor, if you're actually writing for yourself.
Yes.
Is that the motivation, or is it more than that? Is that a creative motivation that is entirely separate and something that you want to pursue?
So I was told at several drama schools, if you want work, create your own.
Right.
Um, I there's a lot of me, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Like in terms of like physicality, there is a lot of me out there. So I have to prove to people that I have something different, if that makes sense. I have to prove to casting directors and directors that I have something different compared to somebody else that looks exactly like me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the battle with acting. Like, it's hard. It's a really hard industry to crack. And a lot of the time you just have to keep going. Like, you have to persevere. Like, I am and I am not at the point where I can leave my day job. A lot of us have several jobs, several sources of income, because it's hard. And
Mm.
if you're happy to maintain it like that, to get to a point where acting can be your sole income, that's great. But and a lot of people can't, and that's really difficult. And you have to be multi-skilled, I think, which is why I love in front of the camera, but I also really appreciate behind the scenes too. So if acting never worked out for me, then I would definitely pursue a career behind the scenes, if that was in props or makeup or assistant directing, like I would, or set dressing or whatever. I just kind of love film and TV so much, that and theatre, that I would just want to be a part of it somehow. But yeah, creating your own work is definitely something that is, well, obviously you can cast yourself in it
Mm,
or
yeah.
whatever, but I definitely looking at, I really enjoy directing. And I mean, maybe somebody like Greta Gerwig and Emerald Fennell are like people that I really admire and aspire to, because they both done both sides of that. So they've both acted and they've both they are directors. So their careers are very, I don't know, like they really appeal, because
Mm-hmm.
I have definitely got a creative vision, and I'd like to be able to present that, and also love storytelling. And the reason why I love acting is because I love being able to tell stories. So being able to do all of it, I mean, I don't know if that's possible, because I don't have enough time to do any of it at the moment anyway. So it'd be nice to be in a position where you could actually sit down and actually have time to go through things and work things out and dedicate more time to things.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but I'm sure that will come.
I'm sure it will. But whilst you're talking about what you're aiming to do there, what made you want to be an actor in the first place? Considering it's such a unstable role, certainly
Mm.
one that you can't necessarily, a lot of people can't necessarily make a living out of. What was it that made you go for that? And when were you a child, or was it
Yeah.
more recent?
My mum put me in a ballet class when I was 2,
Hmm.
and I adored it. And every time my mum tells me that when I was a little girl, she bought me a little like tutu with a like this bright pink tutu leotard combo thing. And she said every day I'd get up and be like, I want to wear that today. And I would just dance around the house constantly. I was always performing as a child, like always like doing talent shows or something performative. Like Like ballet was my favorite time of the week, and I don't know, I felt like really at home being a performer. And then when my sister was born, it was almost like I had like
An audience.
and well, no, because I roped her into
Right.
everything. Like we would constantly perform little things of like we'd watch a TV series and then we would act it out at home, but our own storylines. And like she was my fellow actor, and it was we were just really good at entertaining ourselves as children, and just performing all the time.
Mm.
When I was a teen, so I was very naturally drawn to it, and I wasn't pushed into it. I didn't go to like a drama club as a real small child, but I just felt like I loved singing and dancing, and they were like my main passions as a very young child. Mainly dancing. I was obsessed with dance. Any dance class I could do, I wanted to go to it. When I was a bit older, like a teenager, dancing was still my passion, my passion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like in like there's like the triple threats, isn't it? Like dancer, singer, actor. And dancing was always at the top when I was younger, then singing, and then acting. And now it's like completely flipped. So acting is at the top, singing's in the middle, and dancing I'm not as good at as anymore. I can get by, but I wouldn't be able to do like musical theatre dancing every night of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I would think I would struggle.
Well, I suppose those things as well, they could probably easily flip, because in terms of the likelihood of making a living out of those things, probably acting comes first,
Yes.
before singing and dancing. As you
Yeah,
say, it probably takes a lot to be a professional dancer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Hours and hours and hours of training.
yeah,
Yeah.
from a very small age as well, I should imagine.
Yeah, and if you're just a dancer, your dancing career is my dancing career would be over already. I'd be too old, which is which is insane. Yeah, and I had to have like a big chat. I had a big chat with my friend, like my best friend, and I was like, do I do the musical theatre route or do I do the acting route? And he's very brutal and very honest. And he went, you're not a good enough singer he's like, you're a good singer and you can sing, but you're not a good enough singer to have a musical theatre career. And I was like, cool, acting it is then.
Fair enough.
He was like, he was like, if you ever made it and you could get cast in a musical adaptation of something that was filmed, then yeah, that would be your route into musical theatre, but not stage musical theatre. Those guys are athletes. Like musical theatre performers are athletes. They are incredible. And yeah, I can sing, but I can't. I don't think I would do my damnedest to try to do 8 shows a week, and I know I could. But it is a massive, they are incredibly talented individuals that do musical theatre. And I absolutely adore watching musical theatre because I just think there's so much talent. Everybody is so talented, and even the smallest role is not, because they are probably a swing or an alternate or something, and they will know the whole thing inside out.
There's something about musical theatre that makes me think that although they may be very talented, they give off the impression that they know full well that they're very talented. With every sort of move and gesture and inflection, they're putting forward the fact that they are talented to the whole world.
Yeah.
A bit showy, you could say. I mean, of course, you've got to be showy to be in a show,
is the term.
But still. What's the term?
Stagey is the term.
Stagey, yeah.
I mean, I don't blame them. They are extremely talented. But yeah, you do always know who a musical theatre person is. It's very obvious.
Yeah, I mean, if I see something like that, I just think, well, my first thought is, oh, it's all a bit stage school, because because I think that's the kind of impression I get. It's all sort of a bit jazz hands. So in terms
You're
of
not the only one that thinks that.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
I have many friends that feel similarly.
Good. I didn't want to be, put down as some sort of bigot by the musical theatre community.
You're banned from the West End now.
Okay, I'll take that ban.
You'll say that.
So bringing it back to your acting, what is the what's the objective? What's the goal? Where do you want to take it?
Oh, obviously, I'd love to be in the 2% of actors that have an amazing career, that win awards and get to dress up and be beautiful all the time. But that's very unlikely. And I'm quite real about that. That would be lovely, and the universe can grant me that if it would like. But I'm also real, and I'm kind of starting in for acting, there's no age limit. But I am also I feel like I'm starting later in life. If I was lucky and I actually made it, I'm not going to make it properly until I'm like in my mid-40s, because there's no such thing as an overnight success, unless I was incredibly lucky and somebody just plucked my spotlight CV and my headshots and went, that's the girl, that's who I need for my film, commercial, whatever, TV series. If I was as lucky to have that would be amazing. But if we're being realistic, I mean, I might not ever make it, might never ever come to fruition, and that's also fine. I work as a medical role player, so I play patients for clinicians, teach them communication skills through scenarios of acting, through scenarios of different medical things, and use my acting skills to do that. And because I was getting a lot of good feedback from that, and clinicians and the students would be like, you're really realistic, like I really believe you, like it's a really nice environment to learn. I also know that it's a safe environment because you're not a real patient, but I actually believe you're a real patient. So we're in this weird like clinical scenario, which is kind of like simulated, but it's helping them learn, and also I'm giving them a performance they actually believe. So some of them get we get really into it, and it can be quite distressing, and there's the topics that we do that are quite in depth. And I mean, I do resus cases and things like that where a child is having CPR and I'm playing the parent, and I have to break down, and they have to cope with me breaking down whilst also managing a child that is having CPR. And if we can be as realistic as possible in that situation, that gives them such amazing training to actually encounter that in real life. And because I was getting all that great feedback, I was like, why am I not just trying to be an actor? And yeah, it's a different, it's more like improv kind of stuff that we do. We get given like a history, and then we kind of like work with like the facilitator or the students on how they want us to play it. And I really enjoy it, because it is like a lot of improv work, and you have to think on your feet sometimes. Some students will throw a question at you that is not written in your history, and you just have to answer with something that's believable. And it's given me a lot of good skills, like thinking on my feet, and what if something goes wrong in a scene, I can just kind of pick it up and improvise, or I don't panic anymore because I have those skills that I've built through doing that work. I've gone on a massive tangent.
It seems like you'd be a very good candidate for Casualty.
Yes, well, if the casting director of Casualty would like to take me on, I'm here also working in A&E, my day job. I'm well trained for Casualty. So yeah. I've completely lost where we were going with all of that.
What
my objective. There we go.
Oh, your objective, yes.
My objective. I just want to I would just love to tell stories. And I don't know, like I feel like it's really cheesy, isn't it? To be like,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to portray. I'd
Yeah.
love,
What's the
yeah,
objective? Well, I really love to tell stories.
tell
It
stories.
does sound a bit, it sounds a bit woolly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well,
I think
maybe you are a bit woolly, but maybe um maybe your objective could be Casualty or something similar like that. Or I mean, is it television acting? Is it theatre? Is it something else? Um or is it, jobbing actor and it's that girl who's in that advert. I know you're
like,
saying, oh, I love to tell a story,
mhm.
which, but to most people they would think, okay, here we go, getting a bit stage school now. What's the real objective? Where do you want to be, and what do you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis?
There's a lot of careers that I really aspire to. Like I'd love to do TV or film or both. Well, I'd love to do both.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't like there are some I'm gonna like completely pull a blank now, aren't I? Or like there are loads of actors on TV and film that they've never been like a leading man or lady, but they're working actors and they work and they're phenomenal of what they do.
Hmm.
Um and I think there's a place for everybody. Like I like TV. I like a lot of series. I'd love to do a comedy series. I'd absolutely just adore to do something like that. I am writing one. Um um but I'm also writing my own show. I love Fleabag. I think Fleabag is amazing, and I know loads of actors who are female love Fleabag too.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just, and it's not necessarily the fact that she breaks the fourth wall and things like that. It's just really, really well written, and it was really well cast as well. So it was just a great show and something that I can watch and just think, yeah, that's cool. I aspire to write something and perform in something like that. Like I'd be pretty happy with a BBC Three or a BBC Two, whatever, they fluctuate which one of them kind of is their champion for comedy, or Channel 4, anything Channel 4 comedy. Like I'd be pretty happy sitting in those little niches. Like I'd
Hmm.
really be happy with that. Also, like a good BBC One drama and a big, a good ITV One drama would not be, I would not turn my nose up at that either. So um yeah, that would be amazing. Like I don't and I obviously love voiceover work too. So anything that the objective is to be able to act, make a living from it, a comfortable living, and just do that forever.
Hmm.
Like because it just brings me so much joy. And when I say I like telling stories, it's because like I want to be able to be involved with projects where people go, do you know what? I watched that series and I really related to that. And I feel like I'm not as alone anymore because that has happened. Like something in that one particular scene in that series that Lauren Buck made me think, yeah, I relate to that. And actually, that's all right. And if somebody could feel less alone because of that, then I'd be happy. And that's really cheesy. I know that's cheesy, but I feel like that when I watch films and TV. If I watch something and it moves me or makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it makes me relate to it. I I just think that is why I love TV and film and theatre as well. Don't get me wrong, I don't go to the theatre as much as I would like to. Um, but there's something about TV and film. I just love everything about it. And being able to help with somebody's escapism or something, I don't know, like there's series that I have that are proper comfort series for me. And if I could create something like that and somebody that was their comfort series, like I'd be happy with that.
Hmm.
Like, and it does sound cheesy, and I'm not going to save the world through my acting, but if it made someone feel a bit less alone, maybe for half an hour, I'll be happy with that. Like, because like TV and film is my comfort.
Mm.
And when I can't express how I feel sometimes, and I see a character expressing how I feel, I just think, oh, okay, well, I'm not so random. It's not something that I suffer with on my own. It's somebody else. Somebody else feels that, and I can relate to it. And it makes me feel a bit better about myself. I don't know. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Like maybe I'm just a bit of a that soul person. Like I find comfort in things like that. So
And in terms of trying to forge your career, particularly on television, you can take comfort. I mean, I would think of the fact that there are numerous channels constantly pushing out numerous programs all the time, lots and lots of new stuff all the time, and it requires an unbelievable amount of actors,
mm,
and they must all
yeah.
come from somewhere, and they're all getting
There is a
paid, and they're all doing it for a job. It's
yep.
not that whole 2% thing. It is there are jobbing actors out there who've got work in television,
Oh
and
yeah.
you do see the same the same faces as you say from one series or one thing to another. And then you go to the ads. Well, then you've got the advertisements. You've got somebody acting there, somebody just pretending to be a customer or a father or a hedge trimmer or a bus driver, whatever it may be. They're out there
Oh
every
yeah.
minute. You're watching actors on all the channels.
Yeah. And it's amazing how many of us there are and how small the industry is.
Mm,
Like, it's funny because when I watch TV now, I see people that I know or I know of them or I've seen them at a workshop or something, and I'm like, oh, I know that person, or oh yeah, that's my friend, or yeah, it's weird to be like, but I don't know enough of them yet to be like completely like TV's ruined for me because
yeah.
I'll be like, well, I know all these people in real life. Um, I think that's also really cool about acting is that it's it is trying to emulate real life, so you don't have to be a certain yes, the industry is looking for a certain aesthetic sometimes, but actually it doesn't really matter what you look like. I get so hung up on my weight and I always think maybe I won't get cast because I'm curvy, um, and things like that. Or, I don't particularly like my chin. But there's a place for me somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, hopefully. It maybe there's a really cool thing that so Ricky Gervais did Afterlife, and Afterlife obviously has been incredibly successful. When it was shown in America, a lot of American, I think, like TV hosts and things like that said, why is your cast so ugly?"
Mm.
Because we have this kind of like, I guess sometimes things get Americanized, so then they cast more like, it's like when people say who would play you in like a film of your life, and
Mm.
it would always be like a better looking version of you or whatever.
Mm.
And his reply was like, they're just real people, because that's what real people look like. Real people look real people aren't all like supermodels. They
Mm.
have, some people are overweight and some people are short and some people are tall, and like
Yeah, you get that a lot with American stuff, and there'll be somebody who's supposedly the geek or the nerd, and they just happen to have a six pack and a chiseled jaw, and you just think that just doesn't look right, and then it just
no.
doesn't work, and it just kills it. It's very
Yeah.
easy to kill a um it's very easy to kill some drama just because somebody said one thing or done one thing or um is badly cast or the wrong thing is said, and it just can destroy a scene. If it destroys the scene, it destroys you. I mean, there's so many times I'm watching things and I just think, well, that's that ruined.
Yeah.
That's gone, lost it now. I was watching what was it? Crime, Irving Welsh's Crime, Series 2. Now I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it, but the last episode, the last 3 words uttered in the last episode ruined the entire thing for me.
Oh wow.
Because the last 3 words of the last episode were so self-indulgent that they ruined the entire thing. It was
That's mad.
unnecessary. No spoilers. You'll have to watch it. Maybe you won't feel like
I'm
that
intrigued now.
when you get to the end of it and you don't feel that way. Fine. The rest of it was fine, but when
Yeah.
it got to the end, no, that kind of killed it. So it's easily done.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you got somebody going back to what we're actually talking, rather than some tangent about something that I'm really bitter about, well, if we go back to what we were talking about actually, and it seems as though they've got this like very small pool of people to cast from, and they're all effectively perfect looking, not real people, as you say.
Which has changed. So castings now are more about casting people that look real. Like which makes me laugh when I see it written on casting sites. Looking for real people.
Mm.
And I'm like, hi, I am a real person. It's a real funny thing that people write, and it's written a lot in castings, looking for real people.
Really?
It is a really funny thing, and every time I see it on casting sites, which is very regularly, it makes me laugh because I'm always like, well, I'm a real person. Can you cast me? It's just a funny thing. And I saw a meme the other day about Bridget Jones and how Renée Zellweger was like a size 10 or a 12, and she was like fat.
Yeah.
And she like lives in Bridget Jones, she like lives in a central London flat, and she's like pathetic. Like she's like classed as being pathetic and fat. And you're like, what? Really?
Wait, just
Like
that never
she's
translated. Bridget Jones walks into the bathroom, and the American woman sat there, and then everybody looks a bit embarrassed, and the woman says, "Oh, I thought you said she was thin." I thought, well, she's not fat. It didn't make any sense. It was like, I mean, by modern standards, that is thin. I mean, have you not been to Aldi?
yeah.
I mean, look around. Bridget Jones is thin by any reasonable measure. So yeah, that it just doesn't quite make sense. But that's Americans for you, I suppose.
No. And Marty McCutcheon was fat in Love Actually as well, which
Yeah,
is hilarious.
also
She's
ridiculous.
not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Yeah. She's like, oh, the one with the thighs. And you're like,
yeah. The chubby one.
really?
What? Really?
The chubby one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Like she's not in any shape or form, is she really? But it's changed. That's completely changed now. That's not, it's almost a bit cringeworthy, isn't it, when you watch it? Like that just doesn't have a real place anymore in this industry. Like it will still be done, but it's just not very, that's just not the industry anymore.
Mm.
Like, which is nice because it's now people, you know, I always felt like I had to be a certain aesthetic to be an actor. And maybe that is why, I mean, I didn't have the confidence 10 years ago to pursue acting. Because of the rejection. I think it's hard. Like you go to an audition or you send off a self-tape and you never hear back, and you don't know if you were good or not, and you just have to live with that you just have to live knowing that you did the best you could when you send it off into the casting world and it goes into the ether. Like I learned recently on a workshop that actually there is a lot of things that are not on your side, or they're just not, you know, if you're being cast for something, do you look like someone else in the cast already? They're not going to have two people that look the same on the cast, because Why would you do that? Unless you're siblings or a family. You also have to look that, which we're then, if you have a family and the family are already established, do you look like the family that you're going to be playing with? Like, do you have a good chemistry with the lead, or if you're the love interest? Like, there's so many little cogs. Do you have availability? Like, are you free to do this shoot? Because the shoot will be from this date to this date, and if you're free, great, and if you're not, they're going to go with someone else. Like, there's so many other factors, and when you're starting out, you don't realize all those little factors, and you just think it's you, and you just think, oh, well, I'm just crap. Like, my self-date's rubbish. My self-date might be rubbish, but there are so many other things that they're looking for that actually it's a very small chance that you'll get it. Like, and you might be prepped for it, and they might be like, yep, Lauren Buck is who I want for this role. And then someone else could go, actually, no, we don't want that. We want something else.
Yeah. It's kind of the opposite of a job interview, because in a job interview, generally speaking, what you'll want to know is you'll want some feedback. Where did I go wrong? What didn't I do right? But in actual fact, when it comes to these casting arrangements and being rejected for an acting job, actually, it could be a whole myriad of things. It could be absolutely anything. It could be just your eye color. None of these things that you could do anything about. And actually, to find out would be of no use to you. There's no good feedback, because the next casting executive is going to make a different decision.
Yeah.
And then the next one a different one, and the next one a different one. And to some extent, as long as what you're doing in terms of performance is of a reasonable standard, then really, to some extent, you can play the numbers game.
Yeah.
Because eventually you will fit all the requirements, and there won't be something else that's in the way, or, like you say, availability won't be an issue, or whatever it might be.
And it's about being consistent as well. So always showing up and being consistent and doing a good job will always get you somewhere. Because a lot of these, workshops I've been to with directors and casting agents and casting directors, they all say, like, be consistent, do the best that do your very best, and, like, make good choices and things like that. But again, yeah, you're right. Like, it's not as easy as that. But if you're consistent, and things like somebody said, like, just one of the rules of acting is don't be a dick. So it's like, know your lines, know your cue, like know your mark, and don't be a dick. Because you also don't know who is around. Like, when I said to, like, introduce me as a nice human, like, I quite pride myself on being a nice person. I have a tattoo that says be nice. Like, I can't not be a nice person. But I will always, like, you actually don't know, like, who everyone talks to on set either. Like, I worked with a director and said that he took a recommendation because the driver said that this actor was a lovely person and was always really kind to him and nice and made good conversation and wasn't horrible, and just, he said, like, she was such a joy to drive that actually, when the director said, she had quite a small part in a certain, I can't remember what series it was, but then when they were casting something else, he remembered that the driver had said she was lovely and it was a pleasure to drive her. And that you want those kinds of people on your set, because sets are stressful places, and you don't want ego on set. You just want people that are going to do their job. And another tutor of ours taught us that actually the actors aren't the stars on the set. We just deliver the lines. And there are so many people that work on productions that get no credit, and they work way harder than actors. Like, people are on set from 3:00 in the morning to the next morning, and they get hardly any sleep, and they just turn up and do their jobs. And like the actors are the ones that always like typically have the egos, and we're the ones that are there the least amount of time. We're the last bit of the puzzle, because everything's been done by the time we get to set, because we're the last thing that goes on to set. So he was saying, like, you are just a cog in a machine because there's so many other moving parts. So make sure that you do your job when you are on set. And it was really humbling to learn that, because actually, yeah. And like I said to you before, I love everything about production and things like that. I find it really interesting. And I met people that work in production and lighting or effects and things, and I just really enjoy asking them about their jobs, because they're the ones that kind of make the actors look good. So it's always so good to have those people on your side. But also I find it really interesting. I'm like, what do you do? Like, how do you like when people, you're told to hit a line or a mark, sorry, because if you don't, everything else doesn't work. Like, you're not in focus, you're not lit properly. Like, there's so many other things, just because, you just literally have to stand on one line. And if you miss that, you ruin a lot of other things for a lot of other people. So it's really humbling to know those things, to then make yourself a better actor, I guess.
Make you have the ability to listen and do as you're told, for fear of messing the entire scene up.
Yes, which is fine.
Doesn't matter how well you can deliver a line if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and facing the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely and also, like, it is, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I think I could be an actor, and I'm like, yeah, cool, you should try. And then when you do scene work, you're like, there are so many plates spinning in my head right now. I have to remember this dialogue. I have to remember my cue. I have to remember where I'm going. I have to remember where to stand and where to look, and give it a performance that is actually convincing. Sometimes all those things are very overwhelming, and it's a lot of multitasking that goes on in your head. We were doing some exercises at drama school where we were clapping and counting numbers backwards and jumping up and down all at the same time. And someone was like, why are we doing this? This is so random. And I was like, you need to know how to multitask, because that is exactly what you'll be doing on set. Not so much in theatre, I don't think, but I haven't done big theatre stuff. But yeah, there is so much that you have to like take on board, and you're like, this can be a little bit overwhelming. But hopefully by the time I get to that point, I'll be nice and prepared.
I think one thing that would terrify, well, not terrify, but certainly vex me, is remembering lines. Remembering lines for one play. Like, I've done amateur dramatics, and I've remembered the lines for a part, and after a while, or after a few months of rehearsals and having read it a million times over, you get that. That's fine. But if you're an actor and that's your day job, or even if it's just your part-time day job, and you're doing a play, but you're also doing something on TV, you're also doing an ad, you're also doing some voiceover is different because you can have a script right in front of you. But if that's a big jumble of words, of parts, and there's a lot to remember. What about techniques for trying to remember what you've got to say when you actually get into the right spot and you're facing the right place and you're wearing the right wig?
Yeah. So when I was training, and I'm still training, I still attend classes. I was doing self-tapes and training and learning scripts for various different classes and different projects, little short films and things like that. And I think one week I had like 4 scripts to learn, and it can be very overwhelming working a day job, also having a life, and then having all of that in your head at the same time. I don't really know how I do it. I think I just I knew this word would come up. I compartmentalize. I can never say it. literally everything to do with my life, it has a box in my head. And I think I have one of those for acting stuff. So there's a filing cabinet for monologues, and I'll just put a little, I just got a little few monologues in there. And before now I have one monologue that I always, if I need a monologue and I need it fast, I have a monologue in my head, and I've always remember it. All I need to do is kind of just run it in out loud, and then I'm good to go with it, because it's just one of those little things that I just keep stored right in the back of my head, just in case someone goes, hey, give me a monologue. It's quite rare that will happen, but sometimes if you're doing like a workshop, for example, if and there's time left, they'll be like, right guys, if anyone's got a monologue they've got prepared, why don't we just do it? And it's about being able to just be like, okay, here it is, pluck that out. Luckily, like for me at the moment, the scripts I learn are quite short for self-tapes and things like that. But I think it's just repetition. Like you have to just, so for me, it's about putting them in the little different files and the different boxes, and then learning them is just about repetition. So the best way I learn it is I have an app that you can record all the dialogue, and I record my lines, and I record the other person's lines, and then basically it will go silent on your lines, so you can then speak them out loud. Right. It listens for the cues of your lines, because you've already recorded it in. It's like dictated it down, and it knows when the cues are coming. So then it cues up the one that you've recorded. So the other person, the reader's lines are cued. So then you do a bit of dialogue, and then that comes in, which then gives you a cue for your next line. And that is how I learn lines. And it's just about repetition. And it can be very boring and dull. And you just have to, sometimes I find it really, like, my weird little things are just before bed is a good time for me to learn lines. So I will lie down and I have my phone, so I can't see the lines, and I will just recite them with the little app that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I also use it in the car, so like a hands-free kit. I literally cue it up, start driving, and then I just do lines in the car while I drive. So I can put it through my like sound system in my car, and I basically just probably look like an absolute madwoman where people are driving past me and I'm just reciting lines. And that's how I recite monologues in my car. Like I will learn them to a point where I don't need to look at them anymore, and then I will just run them in the car, and I would just it's like singing in the car. Like it's the same thing. Like if I have a monologue and I need to go over it, I will just keep running it and running it and running it and running it until it is just embedded. And I don't know why the car's a good place for me to do that. I don't know. I think maybe because I'm already doing something, it's going into the subconscious. Maybe.
As long as it doesn't mean that when you come to being on stage or in front of the camera, the only way that you can remember your lines is to be doing this.
No.
That would really interfere with, unless it was a driving scene, of course.
Just me. Yeah, just me in my car on set, like, hey guys, this is the only way I can do my lines. No, it's almost like you learn it cold. So you learn the lines cold with no emotion or anything. So they're just lines. So then you add the emotion afterwards. Because you might get directed differently as well. So you could learn a big piece and it could be really shouty and emotional, but then the director is actually like, no, make it small and quiet and a bit of addictive or something. And if you've learned it big and emotional, it's quite hard to adjust those lines to be something else. So it's like I'm not an acting teacher. These are just the skills I've learned from training. But
just to add an extra layer of complexity to all of this, the learning of lines, the where you put the emphasis on it, and where you've got to stand, and which way you got to face, and which hat you got to wear. I don't think you mentioned hats, but you get the drift. No. With all these things going on, I noticed because there's a website called mandy.com, which lots of people are on, including yourself. And one of the things that is listed is a whole quite a colorful variety of different accents that you are, well, you certainly claim to be capable of. How does that work out to be adding something? Because I mean, most people can put on some kind of accent for a very short space of time, but if you're looking for a whole piece of dialogue, especially with words that you wouldn't necessarily hear being said in those different voices, how difficult is it? And in reality, how many parts would you be entirely confident in playing with a completely different accent?
It depends on the accent.
Okay.
If it was American accent, I have a passable American accent. And the reason why, so this is also a thing that is, if somebody else can do it already, you're more likely to be cast.
Yeah.
So if American accent is your accent and they want American, then you probably got the job over me. But a lot of American studios are now in England. So Amazon Prime has a studio in England. Disney Plus has a studio in England, and yeah, they might have the sole actors, the leads are American, but they're not going to fly loads of American people over to do this American series because it will be cheaper to film it here than it is in America.
Why is that?
So they want people. I don't know why it is, because a lot of productions are now in Canada as well, and apparently that's because it's cheaper. So I'm not sure why it's cheaper. I don't know if we have some kind of tax break if we shoot it here. I think that is the reason. I'm not, but don't quote me on it. But yeah, they can't afford to fly loads of American extras over, or supporting artists, sorry. So, like day players and things like that. So they'll cast English people that can do American accent, or Americans that are already here. So it's always good to have accent work, because they might need somebody. I mean, I cannot do a Scottish accent. I would love to be able to do one, and I'm working on it, but it's not ready to be shown to the world yet. But if they wanted a Scottish actor, I mean, there's a lot of Scottish actors in London already, but if you were random and you were just, they were like, right, okay, Lauren's got a base in Cambridge, and we need a Scottish actor now. Okay, let's hire her because she's here and it's easy and it solves a problem. And that's a lot of what actors have to be. We have to be the we solve the problem for a lot of people. Like somebody said to me, in terms of like voice work, if you solve a problem for the casting director, they're going to hire you. Like, give them, make it easy for them to cast you because you're solving a problem. They don't have this, they're looking for something specific, but they don't know what it is. And then you can be like, this is what I can do. And if you're good at it and you give them a reason to be like, oh, that's the answer to our problem. There it is. Hiya, congratulations. Yeah, I think that's why accent work's great to have just because of that. My sister is amazing at accents, and I wish she would have given me that skill. And I'm getting better. It's definitely work. A lot of accent work and dialect work is about the placement of where things are in your mouth. Because I have a very generalized RP accent, which 30-40 years ago would be perfect for acting. That is what the gold standard of accent was. And you were told at acting, at drama school, that you needed an RP accent. Get rid of your your, can't think of the word because my brain's gone to mush.
Regional.
Regional, there we go. Get rid of your regional accent. We don't want that. We want everyone to have an RP accent. And now it's changed.
Yeah.
So now nobody wants an RP accent. Basically nobody wants me. They want regional accents, which is amazing. That, that's great. And it's really nice to watch things with regional accents in it because it makes it so diverse and interesting. And I'd be bored of listening to 10 actors talk like me in a series, because it's like, yeah, well, it's nice when there's a texture.
Well, one thing that I did want to ask you, and I mentioned one website a moment ago, but when it comes to finding acting work or voiceover work or whatever it may be, in terms of the nuts and bolts of doing that, how does somebody who wants to be an actor, who wants to find acting work, actually be proactive? What are they doing? What are you doing to get yourself out there?
You have to be proactive. Nobody is going to knock on your door and say, hey, I have this role for you. You're going to be in this major Hollywood blockbuster film. Nobody is going to do that for you unless you're super, super lucky, or you know somebody in the industry already, or your parents are Steven Spielberg or whatever. I don't think that happens. So I said to an actor friend of mine recently, I swear most of my acting is admin at the moment. All I'm doing is applying for castings. And you have to be really, I mean, I have taken my foot off the gas because I just don't have time at the moment, because I'm just so overwhelmed with so much that I'm already doing. But there was a point where I was getting up, checking my emails, going on Mandy and applying for everything that I fit casting wise. And that involves reading the breakdown of what they want from a character, giving them like a bit of you and saying, hi, I'm Lauren. I think I would be suitable for this role. Was the extent. I like what you've put in. You can't just kind of copy and paste a reply. You have to kind of read what they're looking for and see if you fit that. Or I have this experience, or I've been through something similar, so I feel like I could bring that emotion to this project. Or sometimes it's just a project that they've said, oh, and these projects are like student films and short films and indie flicks and things like that. There's no, the big stuff is not available to me to look at and apply for. I'd have to be part of a big agency and have somebody doing that work for me. But I don't have that. I'm with an agency, and they work really hard for me, and they have got me loads of self tapes, which I'm really, really grateful for this year. But I also, again, like, they're on Spotlight is another casting site. There's an option to nudge your agent. So if you see something that you want to put yourself up for and you think, yep, that's my casting, and maybe the agent thought, not sure, but you think, or it's not well paid, or it's a student project, or it isn't paid and it's just expenses. And if you're happy to do that, I will always just still nudge and be like, hey, it's just basically a button that says nudge. And sometimes they'll follow up with an email, or I'll follow up with an email and just to my agent and say, hey, I know it's not paid, but actually it'd be a good experience, or I'm really interested in the project. It's something that I would really like to be involved with. And it's just admin, constant admin, like constantly trawling through casting sites. There's like Mandy and the Backstage and Star Now, and a new one called Casting Collective. And it's about like, and I have all those emails. That's all I get in emails. Emails are just job things that come through on these like castings that come through, and that's all the emails I get, really. And occasionally I'll get like a cool little email that'll be like, a casting director wants you to do a self-tape, and I'm like, yes. But mainly it's just literally being told that there's castings, and it's about going through them and just being, I mean, you can put settings on a lot of these casting websites, so you can kind of put a filter on it. So you can put what gender you identify as, you can put your age, you can put height, like your playing age and things like that. So you only get those jobs come through to you. Mine's a bit broader because sometimes they fall into different categories, if that makes sense. So it might be a casting where they're looking for a lead, but they don't particularly want male or female identifying, so it's open. But if you've only got one, I think it only sends you it if you don't have anything specific. So you have to be careful with things like that. If you've like if you're a proper niche, if you have a proper niche, then that's great for that. But mine's quite open, so I do get lots of castings that just aren't me. And it's just about kind of getting through all of those and being like, no, they're not applicable. It's funny because when you're doing all the admin, sometimes you're like, so basically what I do is I scroll down to what the casting is, what they're looking for, basically. So for me, obviously, white female in the playing age of 25 to 40. And if it's not that, I would just move on.
Yeah.
Like, because I've done it so many times where I've read a role and been like, oh, this is perfect. I really love to play this. Not my casting. It's just not my casting type. Not the right age. Like, whatever. Like, and I just, it's so disappointing because you read, like, sometimes the bios are huge and like, this is a brand new like indie project, or this amazing new indie feature film, and this is the role, and you're like, oh, that character sounds incredible. And then you get to the point and you're like, oh, it's not me. they don't want me. So you have to do it. Like now I always scroll down to see what they're looking for, and then if it's not me, then I just have to put it in the bin, in the theoretical bin. And that takes time. That's hours. It takes hours sometimes. Like, and you have to be on top of it because sometimes it's first come, first serve. Like, so yeah, it's hard. It's hard. The admin side of it is intense, and a lot of people that get anywhere is just the ones that plug away. They're just on it, and but you also have to live. Like, you always have to have a life, because if you don't have a life, then you have nothing to like draw from experience wise. So it's finding that balance, which is not a balance ever. So sometimes if I have a day off or a morning off from like my day job or whatever, I will just scroll through castings and just see what is there. And sometimes, like with voiceover stuff, they want an audition straight away. They want you to record it and send. That's how you, like, sometimes with features and TV and casting stuff for just acting on Mandy, I've already got a show reel, I've got headshots, they know what I look like, they can see how I act. You can just send them with a cover letter and it's gone. Those ones are easy to do because I already have all the material ready to send. But if they want you to do they want you to read an excerpt of something random, like their advert they're looking for, that means I have to come home, I need to put my laptop in, put my mic, set my mic up, and open Logic and edit it and get it all. And it's not as easy. So sometimes I have to do those ones in blocks. So I just, like, every week I'll do a couple of nights a week, I'll just sit at my laptop and record voiceover work. And I have a folder on my desktop that says voiceover auditions. There must be over 100 in there. And I've not ever got any work from it. But that is, like I said before, it's like a numbers game. Like, and somebody said to me, you'll get 1,000 no's and one yes, but that one yes will be the thing that you want. But you have to have all those no's first. And it's hard. And it is, if you're an aspiring actor, like, it's hard to put yourself out there constantly and get nothing back. It's really difficult.
So now Dennis of Penge is finished. What's in the pipeline? What's next?
Nothing.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to cast me for anything, I'm hi. I'll put my spotlight pin down the bottom here.
That's a really good segue, actually, into if anybody's watching this and does want to engage your services as an actor, where would they find out more from you?
Well, Instagram, I am Lauren Buck is my handle on Twitter /X.
Literally, I am Lauren Buck.
I am Lauren Buck.
That whole phrase.
Yeah, at I am
okay.
Lauren Buck.
Okay.
Just made it, I didn't really know. Like Lauren Buck was just taken, so I couldn't have it. Okay, because it was taken and I'm not going to pay someone for an account.
And official always seems a bit up yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had official, and then I was like, "Why am I official? I'm not I'm not I'm not anything. I don't have a blue tick or anything." Like, no. My Spotlight CV, which I should probably know the pin number for. You could put it in the comments section.
Yeah, I will do. You can send it over, and I'll put it in the comments.
Which is it's like my online CV, so it has my headshots, my voice reel, my show reel on there.
But pretty much go on there or any other these places that we talked about and search for Lauren Buck.
Yes, there is. I am the only official Lauren Buck. BUCK, yes. I am the only official Lauren Buck because I now have equity, and I have claimed my show name. So no one else can be called Lauren Buck now, who is in the industry.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see what happens next for you, and who knows, we'll see you on our screens, perhaps on Casualty or something else. So look out for the name. Look out for the name Lauren Buck, and of course, come back here and we'll have a catch up, and you can tell me about what you're doing next. But other than that. Thanks for coming on to the show.
And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That conversation with Lauren Buck was recorded on the 11th of December 2023. If it's provoked a reaction, please do get in the comments below. If you've got more to say and you want to be on the show, please DM me at Ted James Media. My thanks again to Lauren for joining me on the podcast. My thanks to you for watching or listening. And please don't forget, click the like button, make sure that you're subscribing, and click the little bell so that you're the first to know when a new video drops. Until the next podcast, goodbye.